In today's episode, Modern Education Channel is gonna put in your hands 7 powerful and creative techniques with which you will be able to win any kind of presentation competition, regardless of your competitor's abilities. And because every second is so precious, let's see how you can overtake your competitors and win the competition by watching today's video. And we will start with our first technique, which is called the long and unexpected pullout, because they will be curious to see what's being hidden behind the object, and then they will be amazed to see that the content is actually way longer than the object in front. They will wonder, how did you do it? And once the content has been revealed, the background color will change and will defocus the mind of the audience, which in turn now will be focused on the new content. And thus, you will always get the top attention because you won't have the time to bore anyone. Technique number 2, the S-shape revealing. The content will be revealed one by one with a different background color using the S format. A little mystery will be created by revealing first the new content in an unreadable format for a few seconds, and after that allowing the audience to read it. So these will make sure that the focus is always on this part of the content. Then at any point you can make additional connections with other slides for further details, and then return to the current slide and flipping new mystery. In this way, the audience will always be connected to you and will not be tempted to do something else. Technique number 3, the handwriting style. Here, you will reveal the content one by one, like would be written in real time by a pen, which in turn will surprise the audience and will make it follow with a lot of interest what you are presenting. Technique number 4, the flipping cards. You will reveal the content one by clicking and turning each card. And of course, you can always create additional links for other connections and other explanation depending on your needs, and then return and go on and flipping the next cards. Technique number 5, pin and click. With the click, you will reveal the number of elements that you want to talk about, and then with the click on each pin, you will reveal the content that you want to present. With the click on the next pin, you will change the background color of the previous information to defocus the attention from the old content and put it directly to the new one. In this way, you will keep the attention of everyone, and that is for sure. Technique number 6, the false dimensions. Sometimes you may attract the attention of your audience apparently by some negative aspects. Now they will think, what? I can't see anything. This guy is so stupid. And in the next second, with a click on the object, the font will turn big and will reveal the content, making the audience think, oh no, I was so wrong. This guy is so smart. And from that moment, for sure, you will glue the attention of your audience. Technique number 7, the magical box reveal. Here, with a click, the box will start moving and the content will be revealed, making the audience thinking that this box has magical power to stretch out the things, making it even more curious for the next reveals. You can't be overtaken by anyone with this kind of presentation, that's for sure. And finally, as a bonus, if you will watch this video until the end, I'm going to show you how you can cope with unpleasant surprises caused by a poor video projector that might ruin completely your presentation. I've simulated here a poor contrast, and in that case, you can completely change the color of your presentation to something that is way more visible, that will bring your presentation back to life in those difficult conditions. Now, my friends, I really hope that I have your attention, and now let's see how it's made tutorial part. Let's start with technique number 1. Firstly, we're gonna look for a background image, and once we're gonna find it, then we're gonna insert it. And the next step is to resize it to 16:9 to be able to use it as background image. Then we're gonna put the title of our slide, and after that we're gonna insert a shape where we're gonna put the chapter or the information that we want to present, either from chapter 1 to 5 or whatever you might need. Then we're gonna insert another shape where is actually going to be find the information that is going to be hidden behind the box and behind a future mask. Once we have created the box with the information, we're gonna give it a certain bevel, and then we're gonna multiply it and change the text appropriately. Then the alignment and the fine adjustments to position it where you want. Of course, if you have already the text in a document, you can use the copy paste and it's going to be way faster and way better. Now let's create the flag, the finished flag. For these, we're gonna use a rectangle with 0.25 with 0.25. Then we're gonna multiply it. We need 8 these kind of shapes. Then 4 of them are going to have the white color, 4 of them are going to be black. Then multiply it and align it with the information, of course, after you have grouped it. Now finally, let's add the animations. For the flags, we're gonna put the swivel animations, while for the main text, we're gonna opt to put a motion pad, of course, that is going to be oriented from the left to the right. We're gonna put 3 seconds duration, and then we are gonna adjust it here in the middle between the box and the flag. And then from the effect options, we're gonna put no smooth start or end. And basically then we have to add the animation that will change the background color. And once we have done this, then we can use the animation painter in order to multiply the animations and then just to organize them on the timeline. In order to apply the animation painter, just click on the element that has the animation, then double click on the animation painter, and then click on every other element to apply it. And now we're gonna do the same thing for the motion pad animation. We're gonna click on the first element that already contained the animation, double click on the animation painter, and then click on all the elements. And now is just the arrangement on the timeline. So you have to put the sequence in the right order. So for that, you're gonna start with the flag, then you're gonna continue with the motion pad, and then you will continue with the background color change. And once we have done this, everything is perfect from the animation perspective. Now, of course, we have to put the main text behind the object containing the chapters, and now the last thing is to create a mask because we don't want to reveal this. We're going to insert a simple shape, we're going to format it with the background of the slide, and then we're going to bring the chapters in front of the mask. And pretty much that's it. We've got our lovely animation in place. Technique number 2, the S-shape revealing. First of all, we're gonna put a title for our slide, and then we're gonna create all the shapes that we need. From the rectangle perspective, we're going to need 5 plus 2. You will see in a minute why we're gonna need 5 plus 2. And then we're gonna also need some U-turn shapes that are going to make the connections between our rectangles. After applying the colors, we should get rid of the arrows first in this U-turn by using these yellow handles. And once we have created the first one, then it's going to be quite easy to multiply and put it in the other 3 locations where we're going to need it. Of course, if you want to fine-tuning the things, it's up to you to make sure that in full presentation mode everything will be very, very good. Now we're almost at the end, and it's time to add the text for our rectangles. And as I said earlier, if you have them in a document, then it's going to be a way quicker, and this is going to be done right now, putting the text and also making sure that a certain visible color is going to be implemented. Of course, for the last option, it can work with these, or if you want, you can change it the more visible one. Great. Now here is where we're gonna duplicate and turn another 2 rectangles with a right align, because they are gonna help us to create the turning effects, and for a few seconds, 1 or 2 seconds, the audience won't be able to read it, but that's gonna increase their curiosity as well. From the animation perspective, text 1 is gonna receive a wipe from left to the right. Then the first U-turn, also a wipe from up to down. Then we're gonna apply to the rectangle rotated by 180 degrees, also a wipe, this time from the right to the left. And then in the same time, 2 other animations will happen. This is going to be disappearing, while the rectangle oriented from the left to the right is going to receive a basical swivel. And in this way, the animation is going to work just fine. And the same is going to be applied for the others. The next U-turn, a wipe from up to down. The next text, meaning number 3, a wipe from left to the right. And they will happen one after the another. Then the third U-turn is going to get also a wipe from up to down. Is going to be triggered by a mouse click. Then we're going to apply a wipe from the right to the left for the 180 degrees turned text. And then this is going to be disappearing. And together in the same time with the disappearing shape is going to be a basical swivel for the text number 4, so that the people can read it. Finally, the last U-turn is also going to receive a wipe from up to down, and the last element is going to receive a simple wipe from left to the right. And this is pretty much everything. We've got now the animation in place. So now let's observe it in full presentation mode. This is the moment when the trick is done. Then you need another click for the third text to be displayed. With another click, the next U-turn will start, and the basical swivel, and then the U-turn number 4 will be revealed, and after that the text number 5 for our lovely presentation. Technique number 3, the handwriting style. To accelerate the process a little bit, I've copied and pasted my icons from the other presentation. These are just simple icons offered by PowerPoint and converted into these beautiful colored icons with my 7 steps technique found in this video that I nicely invite you to watch. And then I've added bevel 2. I also deleted the initial animations and I've added them again right now for you. And we're talking about flying animation for the icons that are entering from the northwest while the warehouse is entering from the northeast. They are all happening in the same time with a certain delay of 0.5 seconds between them. Now to create the handwriting effect, we need first a shape that is going to be a rectangle, and then we need to write the text that is going to be written then with the handwriting effect. It is important to set up the right font size because later on you cannot do any changes. If it's the wrong size, then you'll have to do it from zero once again, and logically nobody wants to do that. Once everything is ready from the shape perspective and from the text perspective, with zero importance from the color perspective, then we will put one on top of the other, and then from the shapes options we're going to use the combine. In this way we're going to create some holes in the shape with the respective text. This is exactly what we want to be able to pass to the second phase of the technique, which involves the drawing part. But firstly, a short example of how not to do it, because if you're gonna release the mouse click after drawing one single character, then you're gonna create more animations in the timeline, and then it's going to be way more difficult to handle them. So that's why once you have started the drawing, you have to do it one single time. So just start drawing, don't release the mouse click, and do it until the end. And don't worry about how initially it's going to look. You may think that this is ugly, unreadable, but trust me, it's perfect. Now fill the shape with the slide background fill and then send it to front, and here we go. The magic has been done and everything, it's very, very beautiful lineup. And when we're gonna apply the ink replay, this is going to create our drawing animation, we're going to have one single element on the timeline and not a lot of elements. And now let's take a look on the full screen. That's perfect, but this is just half of the job because the second half involves creating a pen. We're gonna insert an icon. This is very good. And now we're gonna format it in the way that we want to look like we want. So we're gonna convert from image to shape, and then we're gonna degroup it, and we're gonna move the two parts that were separated initially to create one single part, then group it again, and we're gonna fill it with the color that we want to have also the ink, and then we're gonna apply certain bevels. And now it's up to you which one of the bevels do you think it's more suitable for you. I'll stick with these. And now the last part, which involves adding an animation, a custom animation, a custom motion path animation more precisely. And here, unlike the ink replay, you can release the mouse click. It doesn't matter that you're gonna release it, but you have to draw the custom motion path in the same way you've done with the ink. If you're gonna have different ways, then this is going to be a little bit noticeable at the end. So to have the perfect match between the ink and the pen, you should use the same pen. Of course, this is a little bit difficult. It works with small variations, but I've told you how to do it if you want to make the perfect result. Now, as you will be able to see, there is a gap between the pen and the writing, so we have to correct these. And these can be done by selecting the motion path animation and then dragging the shadow of the pen until will match the pen position, like this. And when that's gonna happen, everything will be very well synchronized. Now we have to add also an appearing animation for the pen and then position it before the motion path, and the motion path will happen after the appearing. And Now, as you can see, the animation is not complete because the pen will remain here, so that's why we should add also a disappearing animation that will happen after the motion path. And let's increase a little bit the duration of the animations, and then let's take a look on the full presentation mode. Now we have the perfect result. Now I'm gonna create one more example for you, but this time I won't be so precise on matching the ink draw with the motion pad, because I really want you to see the difference between the first word receiving and the second word, which is going to be the storage. So in the end you will have to decide if you want to be perfect or if you want to be nearly perfect. So practically here we have followed the same path. Now we have the punched in the rectangle, and now we have to apply the drawing. Of course, this time we're going to use a different color, which in this case is the green, and then we're going to copy and paste the pen, because we're not going to create it one more time logically. We just have to change its color and everything would be perfect. Now let's apply the ink animation, and let's make sure that we have every single group starting on mouse click, meaning the first animation with the entrance of the icons and the warehouse, then the receiving will start on another click, and logically then the storage will also start with another click. Now the copy and pasting of the pen, we're going to change the color of the pen into green, and of course then we'll have to delete the motion pad, because the motion pad, the older motion pad, is not gonna fit anymore. Of course we have to create it one more time, and this time for the word storage. And once this animation is ready, then we'll have to change the setup again. We don't want smooth start and smooth end, and we're gonna put it a duration a little bit longer. And now we have to repeat the same process, meaning that we have to synchronize the shadow of the pen with the original position, and then everything will be ready, and we will be able to make the comparison between the receiving and the storage word. Now, doing this more time, you will get more experience to easily position everything. Now that's ready, and we can see now the difference. The first is like this, and the second, as you can see, it's not so perfect, but it's up to you to decide which is gonna remain. Technique number 4, the flipping cards. I also added the icons from my other presentation and deleted the animation. So we will start first by inserting a shape. This time we're gonna work with a rectangle with rounded corners, and the dimensions are going to be 2 and 2.8. Then you just have to align it and multiply it as many times as you want. In my case, it's going to be the situation with 5 different flipping cards. Then you can apply the appropriate colors and make sure to put a right font size, and then you can put the text that you want. In this case, for the score model, we have plan, source, make, deliver, and return. Then we will have to make a duplicate of them for the back of the cards, and here we're gonna use a pattern for the back of the cards. Then we're gonna apply a bevel. Of course, it's up to you to apply the bevel that you like most. And then we're done from the design perspective. Now let's apply a floating animation for the icons, and then to stay very well organized, we should put specific names for these rectangles. So we're gonna name them as back 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and then face 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that when we're gonna apply the animations, you will know very precisely who is who. Once this is done, then we can add the animations. For the back of the cards, we're also going to put the floating animation, and then we'll have to make sure that everything will happen in the same time for all these 10 animations, and then we're gonna group them one by one. So practically the first icon with the first back of the card, the second icon with the second back, and so on. And then we're gonna just apply a small delay of 0.5 seconds between all of them, so that we're gonna achieve a nice result like this. Of course, we should change the direction of the floating for the icons, and now we are perfect. Now for the next animation, we're gonna apply the swivel, but for the back of the cards, the swivel is gonna make the cards disappearing, while for the face of the cards, the swivel is gonna make the cards appearing. Logically, the appearing and the disappearing have to happen in the same time, and they will be triggered by a mouse click. And we can add the same type of animations for all the other cards, so that we can complete the entire animation process. Great. Now we just have to arrange them, and then we're pretty much finished with this part, and we can observe the result in the full presentation mode. That's very nice. And now, after double checking this aspect, as I was presenting you already in the intro, we can add further details, so we can create an additional link to whatever slide we want. So let's pick the make process and create a connection with slide number 6. Alright, and then of course from slide number 6 we should create a connection back to slide number 4, and this can be done with an invisible shape. Logically format it with no outline, and the fill is going to be the background of the slide. Now let's see everything together in the full presentation mode. Here we can go for the extra details, go back and have everything ready. Technique number 5, pin and click. I also brought the pin from my other presentation, and now let's create the shapes. They are going to be of 1.4 with 1.2, normal rectangles, and then just put the appropriate font size, meaning in my case is going to be a 44. And by the way, once you have created them, you can apply also the desired bevel, and then put the pin and group them together, so that you can multiply them and have the result ready very quickly. After you have multiplied them, then the only thing that you will have to do is to change the number and of course the colors. As you can see, the process has been done very quickly, and now it's time for the rectangles that are going to contain the information that we want to display. So make sure first to align them very well, and then the rectangles with information are going to be of 10.8 times 0.6 dimensions, no outline, and again multiply them and put the appropriate colors. Of course, the colors should be in the same order with the rectangles above. Then, as always, it's going to be way quicker if you're gonna have the text in a certain document, and you can copy and paste it here, so that the entire process will be very shortly. And make sure to arrange the font for all of them in the same time, to again make the process a little bit shorter. Once everything is done from this perspective, then of course we should take care of the selection pane, where we have to put everything together in the perfect order, meaning that we have to name the pins, and then we'll have to name the information rectangles, so that when we will set up the animations, everything will be really perfect. After finishing this part, then we will be able to take care of the most important process, which is represented by the animations, of course. The pins will receive a float in animation, and then we're also going to apply the animation painter for all the others. All of them will happen in the same time, and then we will apply a certain delay of 0.5 seconds between them. And they are also going to represent the trigger for our next elements, meaning the rectangles with the information. These rectangles are going to receive the split appearing animation, and then also applying the animation painter for all the others. And now let's take care of the triggers. Each rectangle containing information will be triggered by its corresponding pin. Then we will need to add a second animation to these 6 rectangles containing the information, which is fill color, because we want to draw the attention to the next element after the previous has been presented. So practically for each rectangle, now the second animation is going to be triggered by the next pin, meaning that, for example, for rectangle number 3, this fill animation is going to be triggered by pin number 4, and so on. So practically just the rectangle number 6 is not going to be triggered for the fill color by any element, because we won't need to change it, since this is going to be the last element that will be presented. Now let's increase the duration of the split, and then let's make sure that on the pins from 2 to 6 we'll have both of the animation split and fill color happening in the same time in order to get the desired result. And the desired result is looking like this. When the pin is being clicked, the current information is being revealed, and with the click on the next pin, the background color of the initial information will be changed, and then we will be able to focus our attention on the current information. Technique number 6, the false dimensions. The aim of this method is to draw the attention of the viewers initially by a negative aspect generated by the fact that they won't be in the position to read what's being presented due to the sizes. But the idea is that once the audience has saw the small version of the elements, in a matter of seconds you will reveal the bigger version that is readable, making the audience thinking that in reality this was just a method to draw their attention, and they will feel very good and they will appreciate even more your qualities. In order to make this method work, you need in this case 5+5 shapes, and each one of them will be filled with text. The bigger ones will have a font of 32 points, while the smaller ones will have just a font of 4 points. Yeah, to make them precisely not readable. And now let's talk about the animations. The icons representing the transportation modes will serve later as a trigger for both the smaller and the bigger shapes. They will have the appear animation and immediately a wipe animation from left to the right for the small shapes will happen, and then the cycle will go on for the next transportation modes and their small rectangles. Everything will be part from a single sequence, so make sure to select all the animations and specify that they should happen with previous, having the appear and then the wipe for each transportation mode, and then introduce a small delay of 0.5 seconds between them. The surprise for the audience is going to be even bigger when they will acknowledge the fact that practically everything you have put so far is definitely not readable. Once you have finished, you can double check the result. That, of course, should look something like this. Every trigger will have practically 4 elements that will be part of a 2-click actions. When, for example, the car will be clicked, then a disappearing animation will be triggered for the small shape, and in the same time an entering wipe animation of 2 seconds will happening for the bigger shape. Then the user will be in the position to present the content, and when the presentation is over, with the second click on the car will trigger this time a disappearing animation for the bigger rectangle, and in the same time will trigger an appearing animation for the smaller rectangle. And this is practically the process that will happen for all the transportation modes. In reality, we can have even combination between different transportation modes. These combinations can be revealed in another slide because they have received specific names in the day-by-day practice. For example, the combination between rail and road is called piggyback, while the combination between road and air is called birdieback. The same if we combine the rail with the sea, we can call it train ship. Of course, the pipeline transportation is something different from the other 4 transportation modes, and is not allowing the transportation of other goods than the one being in liquid or gas form. Now let's see our final result, which is looking like this. And when a click on an icon happens, then the bigger rectangle is being revealed, while at the second click on the respective icon, the bigger rectangle disappears and the smaller rectangle appears once again. Technique number 7, the magical box reveal. The last but not the least technique is one with the most capabilities of delivering a lot of magic for the audience. So to build the magical box, we will need 2 rectangles. One is going to have the dimensions of 0.7 times 2.2, which will represent physically the box, and that later will receive a certain bevel, which is called soft round, while the top of the box will have a rectangle with the dimensions of 2.4 times 0.2, and the bevel is going to be called the slant. Then we will multiply the box because we need a total of 5 boxes. And then if it's the case, you should properly align them. Of course, now about the content. To be able to reveal the content with some magical actions, then we will need more different rectangles. But before of that, of course, don't forget to name the box appropriately in the selection pane. The idea is to make the audience believe that the box has magical powers to stretch up the things. Of course, in reality this is just an illusion, so that's why we will need a longer rectangle with the dimensions of 0.7 times 5.6, which will represent the rectangle that the audience will think that has been stretched by the magical box. The rectangle will have a round convex bevel, and the font size is going to be of 22 points. Then multiply the rectangles and put in the colors that you want to have. Then once again, make sure to put appropriate names in the selection pane so that you will have an easier job with the animations later on. Again, if you have the text in another document, will be easier and faster because you will just have to copy and paste it on the rectangles and job done. Very simple, very easy. Of course, if you're gonna use the darker color for the background, then make sure to change the font color so that the audience won't have trouble in being able to read the information, because these might ruin the entire magic. Of course, now just make sure to align everything properly, so from the visible part of the rectangle will be just a smaller portion and the text won't be visible at all in the smaller portion. Now let's create the smaller rectangle, and this is going to make the audience believe that is the left part of the same rectangle, but in reality, logically, is not. So that's why we'll have to position it in a way so that the audience will really think that is part of the same rectangle. And the position is something like this. Of course, should be on top of the bigger rectangle. And guess what? In the future, of course, we're going to add a mask. For the box to make its artistical number, of course, we will need a certain animation, and this animation is called theta. Now for the bigger rectangles, we'll put a motion path animation that is going to be oriented from the left to the right, and then you will have to appropriately adjust it to the location that you want to be ended. And then you just have to apply the animation painter, and you will have all the animations for all the 5 rectangles done in a matter of seconds. While for the smaller rectangles, you will apply the same procedure, but just this time they will have just a very short motion path, and practically they will end up behind the boxes. Now from the setup perspective, you have to make sure that you have no smooth start and smooth end, while then you will have to make sure that you will bring the 2 motion paths animation to the corresponding box, and they will happen with the magical box animation, but they will have a small delay, let's say of 2 seconds. Once you will finish the arrangement of all the animations, then we will create the mask. But this is not all, because you will see in a second that we will need some further adjustments to make sure that the magic is performing very well in front of the audience, so they will have no doubts that the box has really magical powers. The mask should be placed in front of the long rectangles but below the short rectangles. And now we can analyze the results in the full presentation mode. So as you can see, we don't have this natural motion between both of the rectangles, so that's why we need to make a small adjustment. We need to increase the duration for the longer rectangle with 1 second, and we need to decrease the duration of the animation for the smaller rectangle with 1 second, and then apply the same setup for all the animations, and now we will have a way smoother and natural experience, and really the audience will think that magical things have happened right in front of their eyes. And now for you, my friends, the bonus animation that can help you in very difficult situations if you will have some problems with a poor video projector. So I've duplicated a previous slide, and now I'm deleting all the animations because we no longer need them. And now let's simulate a poor contrast between the font color and the background color, and this poor contrast might really happen in real situations if the video projector doesn't make a good job. So I'm going to create now for you 3 different buttons. They are being formed from shapes, of course, and these 3 buttons will allow you to change the font color and or the background color so that you can have a better contrast and you can bring back to life your presentation, and you won't let the poor video projector quality to ruin everything. To change the background color, we will use the fill color animation. And then to have everything very well organized, let's put the appropriate names in the selection pane for the 3 buttons that are going to represent the triggers. For the red button, we're going to add just a background color change because the initial font is very good in combination with this background, while for the white button, we're going to put a white background color, and we're going to add a second animation that will change the font color to something that will create a better contrast, and in this case that's going to be for sure into a plum color. Now let's select all these 10 animations and they will be triggered with the white button, and then one last setup to make sure that the font color animation will happen in the same time with the background change animation. Now let's take a look on the full presentation mode to see how good this contrast it is. Now for the last button we're going to add logically a blue background color, so a blue fill color animation, and for the font color we're going to add a yellow because this is going to be generating a very nice contrast. And for sure doing the same setup of the animations, and now we can finally analyze in the full presentation mode. The red, the white, and of course the blue. Very nice. Now my friends, if you have watched carefully these 7 presentation techniques that I've created for you, then you should really feel that you are now in pole position to win any presentation competition in which you might be involved. If you think that for whatever reason you might not have everything very clear, then please leave me a comment and I will be more than glad to answer you. And if this movie has managed to convince you that here on Modern Education channel I'm doing a good job that can really help you in different activities, then I warmly invite you to discover all my other videos that are really packed with nice and original surprises that are hardly waiting to be discovered. And my friends, only if I succeed to plant in your heart the seed of pleasure and confidence, then only in that case, please give a like and subscribe from the bottom of your heart. Many thanks and see you in the next episodes. A bientôt mes amis.